What's up, Sim Racing community? My name is Jacob Hannafin, and today, as you can tell by the title, we raced Max Verstappen and the Verstappen Sim Racing team on the Nordschleife, or the Nürburgring, and this was a 2-hour race for their 500,000 followers on Twitch, and they invited the community out to come race with them. And I will say, I had an absolute blast. It was the time of my life on this on iRacing. So without further ado, everybody, let's get into it. And as we go through the race, I'm gonna kind of drop some of my thoughts and opinions, kind of what was happening and my thought processes and everything. I started in grid 35, I believe. So I was back there, and I'll show the results at the end and everything as we progress through this. I'm only really going to show the opening lap and then a battle with a fella I had on the last lap leading into it, maybe a few pit stops as well. But let's jump into it. As we can see, we're starting the race, and if you were in the stream, you could see earlier that they all backed off because they started in, the top 5 or 6 grids, and so the Verstappen Sim Team backed off right there in the beginning. As we can see, we can
Good luck, everyone.
go look at Max right here. He's sitting there. There's some dude in a Lamborghini camping behind him and was kind of ruining the fun. But anyway, I'll go back to spectating me as we get underway, if I can find myself. Sorry. And the start of the race. So, like I said, I had an absolute blast. I hope I get to do this again with the Sim Racing crew. And I don't know if anybody knows, but this is definitely a dream of mine to be able to race on the previously Team Redline, now Verstappen Sim Racing team. I believe I have the ability to get there one day, and it's a little bit of proof, at least for my account. So, as we are getting started, where everyone's queuing up and heating their tires, I'll go ahead and get to the beginning right here, where we all start. Obviously, I have my graphics turned down on the PC just to kind of help things flow a little bit for this loading a lot. As we green the flag, we go into turn 1, and there was just cars swarming everywhere. My whole perspective was clouded. It was actually really hard to maintain position. There was 3 wide basically through the first 3 or 4 turns. It was pretty nuts. And at this moment in time, everybody else is way behind, or at least Team Redline. They're all in the back of the grid. People are flying off. It's just a insane opportunity to be able to get on here and, really showcase my skills in a high prestige race like this. There's people everywhere. It was such a mess. There was 60 cars in total, including the Team Redline, or Verstappen Sim Racing team. So as we're getting into the first chicane on the GP circuit, more cars flying off. I think by this point in time... Oh, I'm sorry. That was definitely my fault. We're going to look at that real quick and just look at the stewards. Yeah, see, it's just kind of tight here. We're gonna go into the chase. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do y'all think I knocked him off? Because I definitely did brake late, but he kind of also turned in to the racing line when he could have, held wide a little bit. I did feel bad about that, so I do apologize to that fella for that. But damage was off anyway, so he was able to, get right back into the race and compete. At this time, who we have? I think this was Luke McGowan off the bat right here. He already caught up to me in the GP circuit, and this is the chicane right here. And so, entering into Nordschleife, I'm already getting wheel to wheel with Luke McGowan. Right? Really cool to see. definitely, I'm pretty sure I made some positions up in the start as well. Carnage, absolute carnage happening behind me. So behind me, I believe this is, who is this? This is Gustavo Ariel. And so he's right behind me as well. And being the Porsche, I was able to keep up to the best of my ability. This was on a fixed setup, so I wasn't able to, I feel like, showcase my true potential or lap times possible. I have my own endurance setup that I run in the Nuremberg Endurance Championship, if anybody else is running an iRacing as well. So this was, I think, fixed at a, let me see if it shows in the cockpit. Oh, so yeah, we were running three ABS and 3 on the traction control, so I couldn't turn those down to 0 at all, unfortunately. So that unfortunately limited how fast I could go in some places, especially with the Porsche being the 6-cylinder running up against all of the V8s. I definitely felt a lack of power in this entire race. So at this point, who do I have behind me? I believe this is Chris Lowlam right behind me. And getting off of Fluke Plots. He's got the run on me here. And personally, yeah, he got me there. But personally, I was taking it easy on him. I was taking the outside lines. I didn't want to get in their way or anything. I wasn't trying to put up too much of a challenge. Especially considering I already understood that I had a real lack of power compared to the BMW Mercedes AMGs. Or Mercedes AMGs. But for a minute I was able to keep up with the fellas. Being a Porsche for that matter. I don't even know where that guy came from. But as we make it through Andorra Faust, heading in, who's that? I think that is Florian right behind me as well. He's catching on me too. Obviously you can see my own inputs on the right side of the screen right here. I wasn't even running a library, I was just running like the basic Porsche library. But who's that? Yeah, so that's still Florian behind me, and this is the whole Verstappen Sim Team is right in front of me, in front of my face, fighting, and probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had here on iRacing. Getting through this is a little section. This section I call Little Monaco. Make it through there, and of course I could have gone inside there and tried to defend that position a little bit, but again, I wasn't trying to be difficult with them or create any bad blood, so to speak. But getting onto the back straight, you can already tell who that was. That was do. And but for just this section, I thought was really cool. I was able to hang on to him and at least hold the draft. The Porsche is actually pretty killer with the draft, so I was able to get right on the Florian's bumper heading into the mud corner, or the mud curve. And then we're approaching the first carousel here. I thought this was pretty cool. I was pretty much right in line with the whole, let's rewind that real quick. So just for a second in time, I was in line with Chris, Luke, Gabriel, Florian, myself, and obviously Max right behind me. And just like the feeling of that in that moment in time was unreal, and I'll never forget that for sure. But here we go, approaching the first carousel. Again, kind of taking it easy a little bit through this section. Mistake I made here, but you'll see I took this turn in third, which allowed Max to really get on my rear end right here, and I also took this curb, which left him a lot of space on the inside to actually overtake me. Well, that created a really funny how do we go? What's the meme? And that was actually an Aston Martin that I think Chris actually took out, and they were joking about it on stream, calling him a terrorist. So we'll actually look at that real quick as well, because I think he went for a gap that didn't exist. We'll go on to Chris's far chase. You just kind of see how it played out. And in my defense, when that happened, I was already being thrown the yellow flag right here, and I saw that, and Max was already making that move on the inside, so I had to kind of slow it down a little bit and avoid that from happening. That's pretty much the extent of me racing with the Verstappen Sim Racing team and Max Verstappen himself. Obviously, I made it too easy for him, but next time I will not take it easy, that's for sure. I didn't want to be problematic in the time. I just wanted to race and have fun. And this was a 2-hour race anyway, so we got it with a if I can go to my cockpit cam, they're sending it away from me. I can barely keep up at this point. Those front engines on Nuremberg are just superior to the rear engines. You know, the Ferrari, the Audi, the Porsche, and this or the mid and rear engines. Even the Lamborghini. There's carnage up here again, so I had to slow down. Who was this right in front of me? This is Chris right in front of me. And I just backed out. I didn't want to, again, be problematic. This guy, this is actually that Lamborghini that was being problematic in the very beginning that I was talking about. He wasn't racing too clean, and he was actually, throughout the duration of the race, he was actually cheating and cutting corners, and I think he ended up getting disqualified anyway. So I didn't even want to put up a fight with him, because I think in the next lap after this, he ended up throwing me off into the grass, and luckily I saved it. But it was still overall just a really fun experience, and right here I had to back out again as well. Hit the wall. Just a rough re-entry, I think, and I probably could have waited and not went for that, but they end up getting away from me, and that was basically the extent of my race. We all pitted 7 laps in, and I stayed on the lead lap throughout the rest of the race. And ended up racing, who's this, Russ. I was racing Russ for a couple laps as well, and he was racing clean, thankfully. Let's see. That's basically the extent of my race with the Verstappen Sim Racing team. It was again, it was extremely fun. I had an absolute blast. I'll go try to find okay, so yeah, we pitted on lap 7 for a full tank of gas and new tires, and about an hour into the session, and then on fresh tires. Basically, the rest of this race was just by myself. I was P16 at this point in the race, and just in my own world, essentially, and just having fun again. And lap 14, we actually had to do a little splash and dash, get an extra lap of fuel, and this is actually where a couple positions I was able to make up later on came into play. So when I was able to pit here, quick little splash and dash, I think we had, oops, there we go. Yep, we had Caleb right here from Ireland, the Irishman. Me and him actually ended up fighting for the position for the duration of this lap. So that was fun. So shout out to Caleb as well. But at this point, you can tell the Porsche is extremely understeery. Lack of fuel in the front end obviously doesn't help either, and on used tires doesn't help either. Also, the setup wasn't ideal, so I'm not going to complain, but I would personally tune my my anti-roll bars a little towards oversteer to help correct the massive understeer that this car faces, especially on the back 2/4 of the track after carousel. The Porsche really struggles to keep up with the Mercedes, but we're gonna watch this closing lap, and yeah, it was again an absolute blast. I didn't expect to actually make it into the race, and let alone at the end, out of 60 cars, I managed to get P13 due to I think it was a few people I've gotten disqualified. So at this point, what was I in? I think I was in P14 here, so Caleb actually got advanced to P12 and I got advanced to P13 due to the disqualification. But it was cool. I was the fastest Porsche on the entire grid. I was also the fastest American on the entire grid, and it was a really fun 2 hours, even if it was effectively just practice after the first lap, just due to the fact that we were not fast enough. And I guarantee I could have gotten a few more seconds out of the car initially. I think the fastest lap I was able to do in total was 8:16, which is extremely slow compared to these guys because they're running like 8 flats, 8:05s, 8:09s, as far as the people ahead of me. But also just the lack of downforce on the Porsche wasn't ideal, but beggars can't be choosers. If I knew that we were going into this with a fixed setup, I probably would have picked the Mercedes or the BMW most likely. I'm a fan of the Ford Mustang, and I think I was racing earlier in that race was actually pretty he wasn't fond of his Mercedes, or not, I'm sorry, he wasn't fond of his Ford Mustang. I think the BOP was definitely leaning towards the BMW and Mercedes in this instance. But just as far as being able to, at one point, stick with the pack, it was extremely the most notable moment in my iRacing career. This is actually approaching my first full year on iRacing after I've been racing effectively my whole life, but as far as taking it seriously and wanting to go somewhere and make a career out of sim racing, this is a highlight, definitely, and I couldn't be more grateful. Today was also the Orthodox Easter Sunday, so Christ has risen, and that was just a gift from him to me. It seemed like to be able to participate in this, and I'm just extremely grateful to take part. So as we close out the video, effectively we're just gonna watch this closing battle between me and Caleb. So again, shout out Caleb for keeping it clean, and a few other fellows that were racing clean as well after the first couple laps. But just overall, it was fun, and I don't really have much else to say. I'm just kind of talking out my bumper at the moment, but it's not every day that we can log on to iRacing and race with the 4-time world champion in Formula One. So I'm actually going to pull up my data on iRacing while we're watching this and kind of show you all my streak that I have going right now. Right now I have where is it? I don't know if y'all can see that. It's a 10-week streak on iRacing, and it actually would be close to a 1-year streak if I didn't go to Colorado in February of this year. Unfortunately, I had to take a week off of iRacing, but regardless, it was it's been a great year in iRacing. I broke 3K in iRating. There's still a few upgrades I need to make on my setup, especially PC wise. It's not the most powerful. I have a 2012 graphics card in there. It's a 1050 Ti, so I've got a lot of upgrading to do. I'm actually in a computer desk setup as well, so again, not ideal. So once I get a cockpit going and I'm also on a single monitor as well, so yeah, there's a lot I've got to do to get faster overall, and some very necessary upgrades, like some haptic pedals, for instance. Right now I'm just using like the Moza SRPs, which are right here it switched to nighttime, but the Moza SRPs, great pedals, running the Moza R12 with the GT wheel. So super cool, but I've got to get a cockpit in order to really be able to dial in trail braking and other schematics like that. For instance, as you can tell, the gaps in between my telemetry right here aren't the best. So I'm having to right now hold my pedals down with my left foot and gas and brake with my right foot, which again isn't ideal. I don't like that personally. I like having the almost instantaneous ability to brake and gas and kind of blend both of those, but you can kind of see those gaps in between my inputs right there, which I believe I'm losing 2 to even 3/10 a second per turn, just based on that alone. And once we upgrade the PC as well, we'll be able to get some better frames, get some better quality going on these videos. I know I haven't made too many videos, but obviously right there that was the vital mistake that I needed, or that was the mistake I made on the entering the back straight, unfortunately, which kind of made me lose that draft that I needed to overtake Caleb right there on the end. But he was still cool. He was still cool about it, and I think he told me a good race at the end as well. So we're about to check in on that. But as you can tell, my lap time is abysmal right here. Greatest.
Oh my days, I'm so dying.
What was that? That was actually nice. Who was that? Ellen. That was the other Porsche. So if he didn't crash right here, he would have actually gotten in front of me.
I'm so dying.
That was the thing.
And yeah, that was it. Here comes me and Caleb at the end of the 2 hours. It was very close. I believe I made a vital pit strategy. I went till I had absolutely no fuel available to do another lap and then pitted. Where I think some people opted to pit a little earlier into their final stints to get that extra bit of gas. And I think me carrying the less fuel into my final laps led me to get a lot closer to Caleb, and I think I overtook someone else, or I guess undercutted someone else as well from my original position. So I think I made up 3 positions after the fact, including Ellen that was upside down into the foxhole. But yeah, guys, that was my race with Verstappen Sim Racing Team and racing with Max Verstappen as well. I had an absolute blast. It was just a hell of a time, and I can't wait to do it again. And one day I hope to be racing with them professionally, because that's a big goal of mine, and that's one of the reasons why I'm making this YouTube video as well. So I appreciate you all stopping by, and my name is Jacob Hannafin, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.
Max Verstappen,